The main value it really brings is that it sits on top of any point of sale device, right? The normal way how companies would get insights into such data would be pretty much integrating hundreds of APIs, and especially in regions like South Asia, this might be quite tricky. Capturing everyone is impossible without a universal solution. Yeah.
Welcome to AI to Z. Hosted by Airswift's data science Donny, we delve into artificial intelligence, health tech, and more. Tune in and journey with us into the future.
Well, Kuba, it is great to have you on the AI to Z podcast. Very excited to hear a bit about yourself, your journey, and most importantly, technology and AI, which is, I think, something that you love to speak about as well. So why don't we jump into yourself? Why don't we talk about you and your background and, what you've been doing these past few years?
All right. Thanks, Danny, and thanks for inviting me to your podcast. So my name is Kuba. I'm currently holding the role of CPTO at EYOS, which is a mysterious abbreviation which stands for Chief Product and Technology Officer. So on top of understanding technology or pretending to understand technology, which I do for some time already, I now also pretend to understand product, which is new. Previously, I was probably mainly with startups and scale-ups, but also early in my career with global corporations. I'm very active in academia as well. Also one of the selling points of this podcast in particular that you shared with me was giving back to the community, which is exactly my objective with university lecturing, because whatever I do in practice, I want to also share. And by the way, it's also a nice way to test whether you know what you are talking about, because students usually have very sneaky questions. So currently, I'm mainly involved in a managerial role, technical managerial role, even though I still, keep up my individual contribution skills active. My general background is in statistics and NLP, and I've started with software engineering much later. Little did I know that natural language processing will become that popular these days. Yeah, so this is my bridge to AI and Gen AI and LLMs in particular. Yeah.
Absolutely. I must say, I think I would love a university professor that has your amount of energy. I think I'd want to take that course for sure. Now, tell me a bit about the company that you're with now. What do they do? What kind of exciting bits that got you to join the adventure?
Yeah. So at EOS, what we do are two main product lines. One is around digital receipts, and this is pretty much what keeps us going. So this is the reason why we are profitable, and we are pretty much offering retailers all around the world with a digital receipt solution. Plus, with a lot of add-ons around delivery methods, importing the data to CRMs, compliance with GDPR, etc. And the second part that we do is actually platform-agnostic data as a service data capture solution, which is another very technical, not even abbreviation. But
Yeah, that's right.
what we do, and it's second part of our business, is that we have a great piece of technology that offers visibility into offline transactions. So we pretty much have a white labeled solution that anyone can install on their point of sale device. And from then on, we are able to provide marketing insights about transactions. This is the more innovative part of our business, even though it's also the more experimental one and the tougher one to distribute.
And it's also a dream scenario. Businesses have so much information at their disposal that, essentially, the term data, got on fire a few years ago because of just the amount of potential that it has, and just data essentially is everywhere, right? And, if we're able to really capture, what peak hours are you? What days of the week do you think you're really busy, but is that the actual case? base? Average sales, do you have repeat, customers? How are you, capturing them and ensuring that, you take care of them as well? As they say, the list goes on, but essentially to be able to put that information that you're using, and essentially that's exactly what you're absorbing, all this information that is coming to you, and now you get to digest it and make it into a pretty dashboard, I'm assuming, give some actionable insights, and hopefully the companies are able to, turn that into ROI
True,
is the
true,
dream.
true. And I would even say that so digital receipt is the first use case for the technology. There are many other ones. We can imagine couponing solution, fraud detection, even maybe new payment methods. Right? I used to be part of a scale-up fintech company, now a global one, that would appreciate visibility in such data, or even the possibility to just introduce a new payment method on the point of sale device. That said, I would say that the solution that we currently have, the main value it really brings is that it sits on top of any point of sale device, right? So it's platform agnostic. That means that we can go directly to the retailer, and the value that we offer is data capture and also standardization of the data, right? Because the normal way how companies would get insights into such data would be pretty much integrating hundreds of APIs with different point of sale providers. And especially in regions like South Asia, this might be quite tricky because the long tail of the retail, the mom and pop stores, and all of the distributed retail is quite long, and just capturing everyone is impossible without a universal solution. Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, is EOS now, as far as I guess their model, are they focusing a lot on Asia? Are they focusing, like, what would you say the percentage is as far as like the clientele for like
Yeah.
regionally or?
So I can tell you for sure that with the digital receipt solution that we are offering, we are most successful in Europe, UK, Australia, and then we also have a couple of clients, for example, in the US. We also have clients in Singapore. The reason is probably also, that our sales team, everyone is like a native English speaker, therefore we are very successful in English speaking countries. In Asia, we were also able to expand the business, but much less on the digital receipts front and much more on the data as a service one, right? And this is also like where our story got interesting, but I guess that we will get to that later on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is a perfect segue. Since you've been with EOS, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, as most startups or scale ups are, especially over the past few years. I would love for you to, share a little bit about the journey and some of the things that you were able to make through over the past few
Yeah,
years.
yeah. Happy to do so. So I can start with the history that I remember, right, which starts about like 2.5 years ago. But what happened before I joined was actually a merger of two companies, and then also COVID, which post-merger probably isn't the best thing that you would like to happen, but it is what it is, right? So it slowed down the growth a bit. That said, when I was joining, we were already a globally distributed team. So I was like, very happy to join a team with engineers from all around the world and colleagues, so not only South Asia, but also Asia at large, Australia, Europe, a couple of people in UK, pretty much really distributed team with people from various backgrounds, also from various cultures, which was amazing. And I was also using it at the very beginning a lot to as an opportunity or as an excuse to visit the country, right? So whenever there was a business trip or whenever I just wanted to meet a teammate, staying in that country for an extra week or something like that was what I was aiming for, because my past experience was mainly with scale ups. And scale ups in Europe mainly, right? So my experience was more the European and US market. And when I joined EOS, what I was trying to achieve also post acquisition of our European fintech company that I've been with before, was to transport myself to a brand new environment, right? And maybe you can or cannot associate with me, but like first 3 months for me was only learning, right? I was exposed to so much new stuff, both business wise and both life wise, right? Because I just wanted to, it's impossible to build a product in a brand new country before you understand what people do for fun, how they live their lives, and before someone local with the expertise, right, in there. Yeah. So back to the original point, I was joining a company that had already a global distributed team. We had a bit of technical debt because we were in this kind of hyper growth phase, which is something that was very familiar to me because I was in such a phase with my previous companies. And we had a lot of product lines, pivoting a lot, etc. And the first objective that we've set up is, first of all, that we need to integrate the team so that the team that's distributed all around the world needs to start talking to each other, and they need to know each other. And then the second part was also integrated on the technical level, right? So we were scaling both our digital receipt solution, also a couple of other product lines, and we were ready to distribute our data as a service solution because we've proved it in a couple of countries in South Asia. However, like due to so we, even though we've proven the technology as such, we were unable to just like sustain the pace, and we weren't able to acquire a new client who would be able to scale the solution with us all around the world. So that part of the business we really needed to shut down, and it was the most difficult, part of my professional career, because it was really not due to someone's bad performance, not at all. The team was like amazing. It was like all just because of bad timing. We can still recover that idea and do it again. But it is what it is. Everyone who used to be on that team, like my evil plan is, of course, to get them back as soon as we are in a hyper growth phase again. And since then, we've reached our objective of being profitable, which is hopefully already one step closer to reaching to kickstarting that evil plan, right? Because we are now at a better place, and compared to an experience that I used to have before, being part of a profitable company is just something amazing, and it gives you such a huge, like, not only freedom but also like responsibility and also options how to start growing again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's something that not a lot of businesses are able to achieve as well, especially over the past few years with COVID happening, all these different, big players that are giving all of these free features that are, essentially, making it very difficult for, smaller businesses that kind of have the same, I guess, ideas, but not the same budget or checkbook. So to be able to weather the storm and, of course, see that light at the end of the tunnel and reach the full circle to where you're at hyper growth and you kind of everything starts sustaining, and then all of a sudden, all right, is the new way of doing things, how are we going to get it done, still got goals to achieve, to complete it, to finally get back to the hyper growth circle is quite fantastic, and I'm sure there's some lesson learned in there. Now, when we were, speaking and catching up, there's something that we spoke about, or you touched on, that was quite interesting, of, how much you leveraged off of technology to really see yourself through those more tough and difficult times with those very lean teams. And I would love to, for you to share a bit more on that aspect of your journey.
So, maybe Donnie, just like one comment on the previous like
Oh,
downsizing or the difficult times itself. I would say that the reason that we are now profitable is like attributed to the whole team, right? This is also
oh,
like
100%.
why they will be for sure part of the growth phase. Uh, Probably compared to other companies, we don't take pride into being like leaner or smaller. We love other people, and we want to be big and have a lot of colleagues. That said, you are very right that that the technological advancement just helps us like streamline a lot of processes, right? So I would say that when it comes to like our even usage, or maybe I'll take it from another point. What we are undergoing and what we want to make sure that we will achieve even in the leaner team is building a brand new platform. And we have the one that serves us well. It's a one that I wouldn't call technical debt, but maybe technical heritage, because really it's something that helped us to get to the point where we are. But we also know that if we want to restart our growth again, we should not be slowed down by this, right? So we are currently rebuilding our platform, branding a new, much more scalable solution. And the way we are doing it is that we are starting pretty much with backend and all of the APIs around it. Why we are doing this is that the development around AI, even though there's like a lot of, or maybe not AI at large, but at least LLMs, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors around it, but also there's a lot of opportunity, and the pace of the development is very high. So if you would be really like asking me, 2 years ago whether I am able to operate a global company with such a lean team, I would just say straight no. While these days, the answer is very clear. We are saying yes, and why? First of all, because we cannot even imagine how the front end interfaces via which we will be consuming data will look like in the future, right? So I can tell that all the time we will need super efficient backend, great databases, great APIs. But where we will plug these APIs, whether it will be, in the same solutions that we are using now, or whether we will be just sending the data to chatbots, who knows, right? I cannot tell, but with solid foundations, we can do. Uh, we are adopting AI in many other departments, right? So, like AI already helps us with summarizing meetings, taking action points, like listening on calls like this one, and finding out what are the key takeaways, etc. Right? Uh, we are having, for example, also our semi or fully autonomous bots, right? So our commercial team is currently using such a solution for lead generation. So there are just a couple of AI colleagues, who are helping to bring us more clients to whom we can provide value, right? And even at the very beginning, we had our own solution that was called EYOS, because we want to be early in the game. And with this bot, we were able to answer, technical inquiries, or even summarize data from our backend. But it was very soon replaced by custom GPTs, right? So I would say the technological advancement helps us quite a lot on many fronts. That said, we are experimenting. We just want to, take the new stuff, and we are yet to see what will stay with us, and what will be just an experiment that we will throw away, right? Yeah.
A lot of trial and error,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
always exciting. It's a blessing that you have, I guess, a platform that is able to stay so agile, that is able to, I guess, adapt and overcome to the different curveballs that business and life kind of throw at us. And there's something that I'm very curious about as well. Since you've been, in a startup, environment for probably as long as you can remember, all kinds of different stages. When it comes to, let's say, EOS, and you are on the growth side of things again, I'm curious at the type of people you would be looking for. You as a hiring manager, I love the energy, the transparency. You lead from the front. You still love being technical. You get really excited about it. I love it. I'm also curious, for someone like yourself, what are you looking for in those future engineers? You're dealing with people from all over the globe, different cultures, different stakeholders potentially in different regions. And I'm curious a bit about, I guess, the thought process for you in finding someone that you feel is, a really good fit for what you're trying to build.
Hmm. Very, very cool question. I would something will definitely change in the future because despite the fact that engineers are behind the rapid development of AI and LLMs, etc., uh, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are like the best users, because as engineers um, we are used to deterministic outputs, while LLMs don't provide these, right? And with LLM outputs, they can just be wide and spread, and one needs to play around a bit, which means that if someone is, for example, doing some rapid prototyping, I would now say that someone orchestrating an LLM outside engineering team might be even able to achieve like better results, right? So I would say that what will stay the same is that when you are looking for a specialist or someone who's already supposed to build a scalable solution, then you will really need someone with very very good engineering background in a specific domain. While for the initial phase, when someone is just trying to experiment and find whether there's some use case, and or build some like wild prototype, for these kind of exercises, I think that the best outcome of this whole AI revolution would be that people won't just come with feature requests, but they will already come with a ready-made prototype and ask for help to scale it, right? Uh, One more thing that's totally outside the AI domain are maybe specialists who are able to share their know-how across multiple companies, right? So I think it's a bit of untapped market still, even in recruiting. That if I want someone to join my team, and I will persuade them that it's the best thing ever because I'm excited about it and they should be as well. I know that I'm creating a problem elsewhere because I will be pulling that person from another company, from another manager like myself, so that they join our adventure. Uh, I think that there's a lot of hidden value in that particular person being a shared resource, in multiple companies, and not even having to take that, tough decision and tough leap, but providing the expertise across multiple companies in a more collaborative setup. Probably difficult to achieve among competitors, but definitely with companies in different domains, this may be working out.
Absolutely. Oh, very interesting. Now, we talk a lot about, I guess, the technical aspects of, bringing someone onto a team, but I'm also very curious about the cultural aspects and, how you assess, maybe the cultural fit. Because from a tech stack perspective, I feel like it's pretty black and white. Either they can complete it. Do they have this kind of experience? Do they have a GitHub that shows that they've, kind of worked on these types of projects either during their full-time job or on the side? There's kind of bits that you can kind of really work around to really understand, their technical capabilities. But typically you have much different and harder characteristics to find, when it comes to, some of the intangibles like cultural fit and things like that. What do you think?
Yeah. I agree that it's definitely more difficult to assess. That said, the solution that we usually adopt, and it's something that I've been also adopting with the past startups or scale-ups I've been with, uh, is something that we used to call bootcamp. And bootcamp was pretty much like a test day, inside the company, or even some shorter take-home exercise that will be then presented, but pretty much seeing in a kind of simulated environment or semi-simulated environment how the person works with the team, right? And usually whether there's some chemistry can be verified by this, because then the whole team can just say, all right, this totally makes sense, or despite that, there's a lot of potential in the technical fit, on people to people level, it doesn't work that great, right? And it's better to find earlier than later, because it's it's a two-way street, and it's a tough decision on both sides, right? So yeah.
Of course, of course. And also when you are building a team, especially in Asia, I feel like there are a lot of different nuances that you do have to consider in building, or having and adding the right components to the team.
That's true.
It's a
That's
very,
true.
when you've got, backgrounds of, the country is made up of, four different, religions essentially, and everybody
Yeah.
working and driving together is, such a beautiful and complex thing. And I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen it, with some people have made the wrong hires and it's just really kind of unraveled things. But yeah, no, I was essentially, it's something if you're on the outside in, you really can't, comprehend. But once you are boots on ground inside of, countries like Malaysia, Singapore in particular, you really have to appreciate and really try to cherish, those type of relationships that people have with one another, especially in this part of the world.
Yeah. I wanted to totally back that up, and it's a huge opportunity how like people from different countries with different even cultural or religious background can learn from each other, because for example, and now I consider it kind of normal because I'm living here for the third year already, right? So it's very natural. But I was impressed by a lot of things. I was like impressed, for example, by the quality of documentation and processes, but I also realized for myself as a manager that unless I will ask very, very directly in a one-on-one setup and after multiple requests, only then I will receive some feedback or something, that I really need to also know about myself. Otherwise, there will be like full consensus, right? And also that, especially when we have a meeting from really different parts of the world, let's say like Europe and US, and then in Asia, uh, the uh, anyone who comes from the European environment like myself, which will be much more vocal and much more direct, and they will like speak first. They will share their thoughts, and then it's necessary to also bring the rest of the team, and make them part of the discussion, because they will have very valuable inputs, but they are much better listeners. Therefore, they will wait for what will be mentioned at the beginning, right? And there are a lot of nuances like that, and it's not only on the professional or people prospect, it's also being exposed to the ecosystem here, right? So you're living in this region as well, and I think that probably first time you had an option to compare Uber or Grab, which is the
Of
ride
course.
sharing app
Absolutely.
region, right? Where you were used to shop on Amazon, and now you use, I don't know, Lazada, Shopee,
Exactly.
Taobao,
100%. Exactly. Those
it's
are my two apps I've got right now, mate.
yeah, and it's a brand new world, right? And
Man,
you also start to like understand how um, maybe where we were born, we were more conservative, but putting a lot of effort on having like strong, solid foundations. While here you can, for example, experience rapid development, but the app starts to kind of blow it up, and then it's difficult to maintain, and smaller competitors take it out of the market, right? You also can think about like domains like regulation, how regulation works in different regions, right? Like Europe is probably example of an environment which is very heavily regulated. Then you've got
America
US,
as
and
well.
here,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it's one is related to the other. But for example, what I love here is that maybe in South Asia, comparatively to US, what's not happening is that much. Is this like very initial base research or base innovation? But once some innovation happens, like everyone in this region is able to take it and bring it to the next level, right? And like develop extra bells and whistles on top of it. Yeah,
Mate,
yeah.
you actually almost stole something I was about to say. I'm gonna go a little bit of a different direction, but that's really funny to me. One of the things I've really noticed, as you mentioned, Lazada, Shopee, Grab, Uber, there's just so many different, I guess, how would I put it? Different characteristics and bits that really make Asia so unique is the adoption of technology. Everyone is so quick to have the latest app. Look at this, look at that, look exactly the way this is being done, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just, one day they're going to be scanning their palm or their eye or their finger. The phone is now used. I don't see anyone use a debit card at the MRT. Everyone has their digital wallet. They pop it in, and just keep on going. that's where I feel like Asia has amazing benefits compared to other parts of the world, where it can really be an amazing testing ground to really get, all aspects and all bits and pieces kind of sorted out, and then you can push it to other parts of the world where are a bit more critical and crucial before they start, buying into, a new way of doing something. The resistance is definitely there in other parts of the world. Where here they're like, "Ooh, this is interesting. Yeah, let's do this." It just seems like everyone's just so used to it, young, old, everyone is just so on board with it. It's quite fantastic. That's why I'm sure you have your, HQ here for this part of the world, because, this is quite an amazing, breeding ground for essentially, all of the experimental ideas that you could push out, essentially everywhere.
Totally agreed. And it's not only Singapore; it's all of the countries nearby, right? Because also
Mm.
Singapore is a great country to have
Oh, all of
headquarters in,
APAC, yeah,
and
100%.
yeah, but then you need to just go out to see the wider world and to see how you can adopt your products to the other countries, right? Because the country I was born in, it's Czech Republic, and sometimes we do there a similar mistake that maybe like some Singaporean companies do, which is focusing only on Singaporean market, right? And sometimes we do that as well, and then after a couple of years of being very successful, you will find it very tough to just like expand to other countries that are in your neighborhood, right? And this is something that's changing, but it's still good to reinforce it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it's also part of the beauty, and it's probably what's kept us here. It's never the same. It's always changing. And,
Agreed.
it's part of the adventure. Now, given your startup background, one of the things I love to ask people that have, had long careers in startups is, what do you think makes someone successful in a startup? Because, there's a lot of attributes that are very different compared to an MNC or a GLC, it's particularly infrastructure, budgets and size, and also, potentially, resources as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts on, what makes somebody quite successful at this.
I would, this lesson I probably keep with myself for some time already, and it's just that you cannot just get stuck with like your original vision and original idea. You cannot like pat it for too long, right? Because you will think that you have the most amazing idea. But it's all about pivoting it and then all about like the execution, right? And you need to be like ready that you will start with something that seemed like some genial idea at the very beginning, and over the time you will change it so many times, and you will need to adapt it, you will need to take the lessons learned, etc., that it might be something else that you originally assumed, right? And I had maybe to make it more relatable, in the early days of blockchain, I really got very much into blockchain, and it's
Mm-mm.
like it's my probably habit that I'm a typical technology generalist, so whatever is the current hot thing that's on the market, I want to be part of it, because I'm sincerely interested and I
Mm-mm.
want to like deep dive. And then after 2 years, I might like switch to another domain just to make the skills complementary.
Mm-mm.
But blockchain was experiencing like similar boom as AI. Maybe AI is now much more general, but still. Uh, and we were developing an application that was reversing GDPR. So pretty much people, yourself or myself, who have data with third-party companies like Facebook, Meta, or even cell phone operators, based on a GDPR request, could download this data to themselves and then offer it or resell it to someone else. So instead of like Google
That's
or
very
Facebook,
interesting. That's a very
uh,
interesting
uh,
business, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
selling your data. We did that, and I love that idea. It was on blockchain, so it was completely decentralized, and really like very revolutionary. Uh, but in the end, once again, like you said, it limited budgets. You have to think about distribution. You have to descope the project a bit. Maybe it was not that revolutionary, but in the end, what came out of it was a successful application when users, like for some form of reward, filled out surveys, and on top of that provided their Facebook data archive or something like that, and it probably wasn't as big as the original vision, even though this vision very, stays very alive in me, but it was not that big. But it was something which we needed to do in order to keep the project going, right? And in order to really like make it profitable and make it run. Can you then return to this original big vision? Absolutely, but you also need to make sure that the business is like sustainable. And yeah, maybe this is also relatable now with EOS. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. As taking all your lessons learned and bringing it and packaging it up into one one nice product, and now everybody gets all of those lessons learned. One of the things I really look for, speaking to different founders, is really just desire, I would say. Like somebody that is going to be successful in a startup environment. They're going to be agile, but they're going to want to learn. They want to be a sponge. They want to be in that chaos, as we put it. Because if you don't, then it's it's either sink or swim time, right? And it's either you learn to swim, and you train and you get yourself prepared for war, or you're like, okay, this is not for me. I am going back to the pool. I am not going. I am that. The ocean is not for me, right? And that's something I really kind of really harp on, when it comes to screening candidates for startups in particular or smaller businesses. It's just, breaking the mind of infrastructure. You're not going to only be, responsible for one portion of the project. You will have much more visibility. You will have access to more tools. If you weren't doing DevOps before or working on CI/CD, then guess what? You probably will be now. And you might be only 2 years of experience, but you might be more senior than someone that's an intern, and you will now be mentoring someone. It is putting you into unfamiliar territory, but it is the right type of person loves and thrives in those type of environments. And those, you can almost instantly kind of gauge someone's response, by almost their immediate answer, or their mannerisms of how they react to it, because it's either one of two ways. Either you're like, oh wow, this sounds really exciting. I would love to finally do that. I've been waiting for a role that would give me exposure to this, that, or the other, or full stack versus front or back end. And those are the people that I really feel quite confident in, presenting them to startups, because, and also on the flip side, I play devil's advocate, because sometimes people from big companies dream of being in a startup, dream of, having more to do, not just working on one little tiny section of the pie, and don't see anything of how it works or seamlessly goes together. And I fight the battle with startup founders where I'm like, trust me, this person's GitHub is fantastic. They've been taking all kinds of certification courses. They have prepared and they have trained and they are ready for this day. But those are the people you fight for. There are certain people I'm just like, they're like, no, I like just doing this and doing that. Then I'm like, okay, great. There is a place for you in the world, and I can definitely place you somewhere. Well, this business and this small 5-person, 10-person team, is probably not the right fit for you. So thank you for sharing those insights, because, I'm always keen to hear, words of wisdom from the people actually hiring these individuals, training them, and, had some people that worked out fantastically and had some people that this wasn't the right fit for them, so I would love to hear your thoughts. Is that kind of in line? I'm sure this probably might be similar to what you've seen as well.
Yeah, yeah. Don't I completely agree. And also, like as a startup, you cannot afford not to innovate, right? And like I don't want to add up to the FOMO of the listeners, because maybe if you are not currently in a startup, like we're really like doing rapid experimentation, because we need to expose ourselves to the new technology and then just see whether there's something in it, right? So I can tell you that, for example, our information security is currently like super optimized, because we know that as long as we have good policies, like we are providing lightning fast responses, to our vendors or even to our clients infosec requests, because AI is a great use case for it, right? So we found it out. No one in any company that I was part of, who has a great idea somewhere, wants to fill out some Jira product templates and just like, put everything in structured manner. And then once they do this like huge daunting job and not even be sure whether this will get prioritized and whether it will be on the roadmap, right? And and they just will, so they will share their like idea in a Slack message or something like this, and then product owners are doing the heroic job of like putting it into product specification. Once again, using AI for this or LLMs for this, this is amazing, right? That's there. But then we had a lot of other ideas, I don't know, using AI for email templating or parsing the data. And maybe it's not there yet. Maybe it's like too error prone, or maybe you cannot solve the economies of scale. So it's just cost or something like that. But as a startup, you just have to, accept that this is a possibility, just test it out, prototype. And then either you say, all right, we are parking it. This was a nonsense. Or actually, this is completely like streamlining how we used to do things, and whatever took us like 20 days in the past now takes us like 10 minutes, so
Yeah,
why not,
absolutely.
right?
But also, it's quite exciting for the people inside of a team that kind of thinks like that. If you're doing 90% on, I guess, on the normal, feature upgrades, different revamps on the platform and things like that, different UIs, etc. But being able to, spend 10 or 15% of your job, kind of thinking of different ways of doing things, you have no idea. The person with 1 year experience or 10 years of experience might have that one fantastic idea that just, really changes the way, everybody kind of does things. And being able to encourage that type of thinking, that forward, I guess, innovation is, I commend you for that, because that is really how, some of these great ideas are going to start coming, because AI is here. But it's really not going to be, in my opinion, something that's going to replace everything. I think it's going to be a feature that's just going to make everything much better, much sweeter, much more detail oriented, just that much more impactful. And this is where it comes from. That little bit, that little extra bit that, can kind of one plug in, be like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. And then you tell it to the right kind of person, like a chief product technology officer, which is very fun to say, that can, essentially really let the brain fly, like, wow, if we could do it like this, what about this? And that is also why I see this title might be coming, because I think the lines are going to start to be very blurred as far as technology and products. And you need somebody that really understands both and can really control, I guess, both sides of the house. To, like you said in the beginning, they're speaking to each other. They're on the same page. And, from there, I think some great things can hopefully, and fingers crossed, happen.
True, and it's part of technology literacy, right? Because an expert who's using an LLM will still do a better job than someone who does not have that expertise, because you cannot then tell whether the outputs are correct. You cannot even sense check them, right? So what I mean is that if you are a software engineer using LLM in some copilot solution to help you like auto-generate code and then tweak it, is a great thing. And probably someone without that expertise could do that as well, but they would not necessarily have the visibility in the process and how did they get to the outcome, which might or might not be an issue. Depends how scalable and sustainable your solution would be, right? But maybe if I take a totally different domain, that the one that I understand, if you take, for example, legal industry, once again, a lawyer will be using LLM much better than myself, because, I'm not a legal expert. I cannot tell. The same about finance, the same about maybe recruiting, right? So it's really that the expertise of that person matters, and it's similar to how we started, I don't know, to use Google in the past for our searches, and whoever did not understand how to do that was slower. Now it's the same with LLMs. If it speeds us up, right? So
Oh,
yeah.
100%. Once we start getting to legal and large amounts of text, then we start talking about NLP again. You can't help but circle back to what you begin on.
Exactly.
You can't help it, mate.
It's all coming together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all coming full circle. But also, I think it's very important to know what right looks like. I've used ChatGPT, for example, to write CVs and really do JDs. Really help me refine what I'm doing and help creative words and things like that. But if I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, if I don't know exactly from the client what they shared with me, and then put it into the prompt and then tweak that prompt to make sure that it really portrays I think when people believe too much in the AI is when we're going to have a problem, and they don't realize that this is 80-90% done in most cases. This isn't a perfect or polished product by no means. So you can't just, copy and paste this, submit it to your professor or something along those lines, and all of a sudden you think this is an A plus and don't understand what happened. No, you still have to put effort. You still have to learn that baseline and learn those key skills to really understand, the gaps in the technology, and of course, be able to, use it to your advantage, get that baseline, those lines of code. But like you said, it might not be scalable, or it might not be to the standards of what you're trying to do inside of your organization. So now this is where your knowledge, your know-how, okay, we want it like this. We want it structured like this. We want the syntax over here. These different key bits and pieces. It could work, yes, but does it work particularly in what you're trying to do? That is kind of the question mark that a lot of, I guess we have to kind of, speak about and harp on. But the future looks bright. For the right type of people, this is going to be fantastic. And, I'm so excited to hear, all the different applications that you're using, taking meeting notes. Essentially AI is really quite infused into your business. And, it's probably, attribution to the business model and how it's really kind of changed the visibility and way even your senior leaders view AI and its capabilities. And as they say, we're just scratching the surface, mate. It's going to be very fun over these next few years, I think.
This is like what a time to live in, right? Like
Oh,
it's just
fantastic.
exciting. And
It is. It really
like
is.
yeah, these days I'm, for example, learning Mandarin Chinese. Did I never thought that chatbot or LLM will be my tutor, right? It's just amazing. Like a lot of things that in this fast-paced environment we now consider normal, that we can talk in a natural language, and instruct the machine instead of learning how to program machines, or maybe both at the same time, because both worlds are getting closer. It's something that would seem like sci-fi, 2 years ago.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Terminator, 100%. I know Skynet always pops into my brain whenever I talk about AI and, robots and, all these things that you're kind of seeing now, especially with like, what Elon is experimenting with and some of the different robots and capabilities. It's just, we're getting closer and closer. But this is where ethical AI and things like that just have to be of huge importance. There has to be a line that has to be drawn. And hopefully in the coming years, we're going to have those councils and those people that are going to be regulating all of this, because what comes with great rewards is great responsibility. And, and I really hope that we're able to, make a balancing act, because one of the things that's terrifying about AI is how fraud is just, it's too easy to try and mimic someone, try and pretend to be someone, especially if you have a good, social media presence and a lot of videos and things like that. They could be you in a day. So we really have to, kind of drill down and make sure that, we're taking the right actions and steps to ensure that, technology is more of an aid opposed to a hindrance of what we eventually want to get to before we know it, essentially.
True, yeah. And only like on the topic of the rapid development, I totally agree. And also because of the development in LLMs, we should not overlook the other areas that you've mentioned, like robotics, but it could be also, I don't know, material science. It could
Oh,
be
yes.
genomics and the technologies like CRISPR, and like some of them, or space exploration even, right? And some of
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
facilitated by AI. Sometimes AI will help the research. Sometimes it might be vice versa, because, for example, if we get anywhere closer to quantum computing, this would be also revolutionary, right? And and on the second point, like around the risks, I fully agree as well, because this is, and maybe this could be also like a nice message to the listeners, if you haven't yet shown these tools not only to your colleagues but also to your kids, to your significant other, to your parents, you should do that now, right now, after this podcast ends, because you need to show them what's currently possible and talk about all of the opportunities that it can bring to them, because maybe they will really need to rethink the skills and how and what kind of skills they want to acquire to be beneficial to this society, but also they need to understand the risks, right? So also not the rainbows and unicorns that we like to talk about, but also how when you now receive a call that will be completely in a natural language, it might not be the person that you are thinking it is, right? And yeah.
Oh, that's a very, very amazing point. If the moral of the story is AI is here, technology is here. If you're not looking at it, if you're not studying it, if you're not trying to see how it can help you or those that you love, then it's time to do so. And I would
Exactly.
say, that is a amazing, final thought and to share with the listeners. And I must say, thank you, Kuba, so much. Your passion, your knowledge on many different facets of technology. I cannot thank you enough for your time and really wanting to give back to those communities that we really care about so much. Cannot thank you again, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Donny, thanks a lot again for the invite. It was really, really very cool, and yeah, can't wait to have this chat again. After some time.
Thanks for joining us on the AI to Z podcast with Data Science Donny. If you found value in today's episode, consider following for more insightful STEM discussions. We'll be back with another deep dive. Until then.